we're looking at patterns in algebra again, and we're looking at substituting integers for variables. So if I have this equation here, 3x, and then I'm setting x is equal to minus 2, okay, we know that we just substitute in 3 times minus 2. Okay, and then we just evaluate, and we know that when we're multiplying a negative and a positive, we're going to end up with a negative. Okay, again, here we just directly substitute that in for the b, and so this would be minus 7, subtracting 2, and then if we're going on the number line, right, we'd be going further to the left because there's 2 negatives, so this would be negative 9. Over here, again, sub straight in, I have negative 11 plus 3. So we start at negative 11 on the number line, and we're going to be moving to the right because it's a negative and a positive. So we're going to become less negative or like a little bit more positive, however you want to look at that. And this would be minus 8. Okay, over here, we're now looking at 2 operations. So when we have 2 operations in the set instead of just 1, in the equation, I still substitute that right in, right? And then if we remember, this is multiplied by minus 4, and then plus 2. Order of operations, we're going to do the multiplication or division first, right? So that would be a negative times a positive, which is going to give me a negative, and then plus 2, which is going to still be a negative, so minus 10. All right, again, substituting in, I have the negative times the positive, and that's going to be 24, and I have the negative there, so it's negative, and I'm subtracting 1, so this is going to become more negative, and so that's negative 25. All right, again, I like to sub in apparently my negative numbers here, so negative, I'm going to make this a negative actually. So I say I have 2 negatives, right? Now 2 negatives, when you multiply together, become a positive. So this is now going to be 60 plus 1, and that's going to be 61. All right, so if we're looking for equivalent answers here, I'm going to solve these by putting x in for each one, right? X is going to be minus 3 for each one, and y is going to be minus 2, and I'll start over here. So I have 5, this is there, and plus 4 here, and y is going to be minus 2. This is 15 plus negative 8. And then I'm adding the 2 negative numbers together. So this will be minus 23. Okay. Over here, I am going to substitute 6 minus 3, right? And then plus the y is minus 2. And this is going to be minus 18 plus negative 4 because the negative and the positive. And then I add these together, 18, right, plus 2, that's going to be negative 22. And now I'm looking down here. When they're all touching like that, it means multiplication. So this is going to be 7 times minus 3 times minus 2. And we know that with order of operations, it doesn't matter which order we do the multiplication in. So I am going to start with these 2 because they're 2 negatives, and they're going to cancel. The negatives will cancel each other out. So this is going to be 6 times 7, and this is the answer is 42. Okay, if I'm looking at this chart here, and I'm evaluating expressions with negative coefficients. So I'm just looking for a pattern here. So I have, this is what A is going to be equal to all the way across. And then notice that this one here is positive and this one here is negative. This one here is positive, and these are subtracting from 0, so becoming more negative, so more to the left in the number line. Okay? Oh, it does this to me every time. Okay, I just have to do this, and it'll let me... Okay, change it. Okay, so if I have 3 times negative 3, right, I'm going to end up with a negative number, negative 3. 2 times, or negative 2 times 3 is going to be negative 6. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. That would be 0. And then these are, of course, we're completely familiar with, right? Like 1 times 3, 2 times 3, 3 times 3. Okay, looking, and we're going to compare. Okay, so I have 2 negatives, right? That's going to be 9. Negative 2 and negative 3 is 6. Negative 1 and negative 3 is 3. So what is the pattern here that you're seeing happening as we're multiplying these? All right. So I'm hoping that you're noticing that they're opposite. So the 2 negatives are going to make the positive 9, whereas the negative and the positive made the negative 9. And looking down here, obviously, if I just keep adding negative numbers together, 3 times 3 times 3, that are all negative, negative 3, it'll be a negative number. Or sorry, negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 3. I'm getting more left on the number line. Okay. And so on, all the way across. What are the patterns that you're noticing here? And how does it compare right here? So I'm going to do the last one. Okay, 0 minus A minus A minus A. So we're going further and further. If we're minusing, so 2 negatives are going to cancel each other out. It's going to become positive. So we're going to be moving right on the number line. So I'm subtracting the negative, right? We've talked about this in previous videos. Now, what is the pattern that we're seeing here? Well, what I'm hoping that you're noticing is that 3A, okay, is just A plus A plus A. So the repeated addition of the negative 3s, or the repeated addition of the 3, right? And then this one down here is the repeated subtraction of those negative numbers. So the negative 3 is happening the 3 times. So I'm subtracting 3 times. All right, looking here, I have y is equal to minus 4. Okay, we are familiar with that. Now I have this guy here with the brackets. So remembering our order of operations, so I have minus 4 there, minus p is going to be negative 2 there. All right, now we're going to evaluate what's in the brackets first, because that's the order of operation: brackets, multiplication, division, and then addition and subtraction from left to right. Okay, looking here, if I was on a number line, right, it's saying I'm subtracting negative 2. So I'm taking that negative away. You owe me $2 and you've already paid it back, so I'm taking the negative away. So when I rewrite this, minus 4 is going to be plus 2. Okay, lots of people struggled with this on the assessment that we did. So I'm just wanting to make sure that we're understanding that. So I now have negative 4 times negative 8, and that's going to be equal to minus 32. Okay, and over here, I have negative 2 times x minus negative 3 times y. So I just want you to pause and do this to make sure that you're coming back and yours matches mine, so that you know that you're doing it the correct way. So pause, please. So I have negative 2 here, and it's going to be multiplied by 5, and I'm subtracting this negative times this negative. Okay, and now what do we do? Well, we do brackets first, but there's no like group of things in brackets. So now I'm going to look at multiplication and division left to right. So I'm going to do these before I do this subtraction. Okay, so this ends up being 10, negative 10, and I'm subtracting negative 3 times negative 4, which is going to be a positive. And you can see how this would have looked a lot different if I would have done this first. It would have been a completely different answer. So now I have negative 10 minus 12, and that's going to be minus negative 22, right? All right, so hopefully you got that right. If you didn't, you need to come to the help sessions. Okay, so again, looking at fractions, because we are going to be using fractions. So if you're struggling with fractions still, you need to come and we need to rectify that. So I'm subbing the negative 12 in, and I have it divided by 3. So now, if I remember when I would write this out, I can write a fraction out as division, right? So that's what is expected of you to do. You would not leave it in this form if you can make it into lowest form, which we can here, which would be negative 4. Okay, over here, I have subtraction. So there's special rules for subtraction, right? So I have t is minus 20 divided by 5 minus negative 6. So here, this is going to be negative 20 divided by 5 is going to be negative 4. And now I'm going to subtract, that's a subtraction, minus 6. I'm writing too big here. Okay, so I have negative 4 minus negative 6. So remembering that I'm taking away that debt is what I'm doing. So now I have minus 4 plus 6. So this is going to end up actually being positive 2. All right, so that's it for me. So make sure you're doing the practice sheets and you're coming